Hello, hello, everybody. It's been a nice little break, but all around advance, we're back. This time, we're ready for season 5 playoffs. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's Sunday has been fantastic. As always, I am, of course, your gracious host, Terry underscore, and I am joined. He's joined us at the very beginning of the show, and now he's here again. Welcome our frog overlord, the guitar master himself, fleskore. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, Terry? How you been?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for these playoffs. Of course, the advanced playoffs preview was published yesterday, so get a read up on that on Team Fortress TV if you're unfamiliar with the throwdown that's about to happen. Because we've got 8 extremely talented teams that are hungry. They're hungry for this advanced crown. We haven't seen an advanced champion since season 2, so.
Yes, sir. And that was God, who? That was the On9 family, wasn't it?
No, I think that was Spire IQ Technologies for
It
season
was,
two
yes.
advanced. So, um,
On9 was season one. Excuse me.
On9 was main. Yeah, Halo 3 On9 was main, and then Sword Art On9 was the season after that in main as well. But regardless, it's advanced playoffs here. Let's bring up the bracket. Let's see what we're dealing with here.
It's been an exciting season. Lots of back and forth. We've it's been like we have like a definite like first and second, but either way they've as we've seen from the season going on, it's not they bleed. We saw Cat Posse get upset.
Yep, they bled not once but twice, actually, in the final week of the season. Of course, losing the second head-to-head matchup against Honey Bacon Club, which allowed the latter team to kind of sneak in as the number one seed, despite Cat Posse, for the lack of a better word, kind of dominating for the majority of the season. But regardless, we are here now, top 8 teams into the playoffs, single elimination, unfortunately, because the RGL's options are either to have top 4 double elim or top 8 single elim, and they chose to do that one. So, as you can see on the bracket, Honey Bacon Club versus Gaming, I Buy Winrar versus Team Solo Cat Posse versus The Goblin Zone, and then Dior Addicts versus Portland Burnsiders. We're gonna get through all of these matches. We're gonna break it down. We got some notes. We've done some research. Let's start with the teams or the matches, excuse me, that don't have maps yet, because we'll pretty much gloss over them compared to the other two. So Cat
Yeah.
Posse versus Goblin Zone. Now, of course, again, Goblin Zone handed Cat Posse their first loss of the season earlier, back in Sunshine Week. It was a 5-4. In my playoffs preview, I called it a little bit quirky because Shining Star did have some internet troubles, and pretty much any match with the Goblin Zone is kind of quirky when you consider all the stuff that they like to throw at you. Everything, including the kitchen sink, of course. So that Sunshine match resulted in a 5-4 victory for the Goblin Zone. Again, we don't know the maps for them just quite yet, but fleskore, your immediate thoughts on this rematch for round 1.
So after I looked over I think they have written some things on the actual match comms.
Let's take a peek.
I think some bands actually have been done. If it's not that,
Yep, Kurama's team or Cat Posse immediately banned Sunshine.
they immediately banned Sunshine, just not wanting to deal with that lot, like 5-4 loss stuff. Must have been soul crushing because you're the number one disputed team, and then you suddenly lose to someone who I wouldn't necessarily say doesn't, but you lost to someone that you didn't really expect to. So that's definitely a confidence blower. So Sunshine out of there, but yeah, it's I definitely would expect ooh, we actually do get the first pick. We got product.
Yeah, I was about to say, we can see at least one map here. Guaranteed map number 1, Cat Posse's pick is going to be Koth Product, aka Viaduct. So again, we can look at Tomato Tom's ban as well. They banned Clear Cut. I'm not sure how the Goblin Zone did on Clear Cut. We'll take a peek right now. Um, but they took a 4-3 win over the Lobsters, the up and comers, the feisty upstarts, and then
And
they
the
suffered a 4-0 loss to DR Addicts. So I guess this makes complete sense. You kind of got smacked by another playoff team, and then hung on against a middle of the pack team. So Viaduct being the first map. Okay, so I'm thinking immediately scouts. The scout battles is going to be really really exciting because on the Goblin Zone side you have Sam, you have Waldo. Who I mean I feel like Waldo kind of a not a sleeper, but like we weren't really talking much about him for that team throughout the season. Just because like Hedge is obviously a standout, Sam is obviously a standout, and then Tomato Tom's jumping, Muma's pyroing, and just general shenanigans. So uh, didn't really bring up Waldo in the spotlight, but I feel like this will be the time to shine. Of course, Scout in playoffs on King of the Hill. It's go time, baby. And then, of course, on the other side of things, Shining Star and Yum Yum. What more needs to be said there, right?
I mean, yeah, Shining Star's already proven herself to be an amazing scout, especially since I mean, like 2 seasons ago, Div 2 shenanigans, but that was that's a curse div. I don't like to talk about it. But going in now, like obviously Shining Star, well more than capable, and Yum Yum as well. Might not be like pulling up like the most impressive stats, but they're showing up and like doing their job, and that's like I would say just as difficult.
So just to, I guess, give this matchup a little more spotlight with the limited information we have. So Cat Posse on Viaduct Week, they took care of Lobsters.tf 4-0. They then played Portland Burnsiders and took a 4-2 victory. So again, prior to Cat Posse meeting Goblin Zone on Sunshine Week, they pretty much only dropped 2 rounds max against any team that they played. And then on the other hand, Goblin Zone on Viaduct, excuse me. They took a 4-2 match win over Team Solo. I remember casting that game. It's kind of crazy. Lots of action back and forth. Lots of drops from the medics, and then a 4-1 loss to Dynasty as well. So we'll see how much the Goblin crew has grown and improved their Koth strategy, their Viaduct strategy since then, because that was obviously week 4, and that pretty much feels like a long time ago now. But the other matchup I'm looking at with just this one map under our knowledge is Bloompy versus Ray, because Bloompy very very solid medic as well, and then Ray of course kind of has a pretty easy job when Shining Star is your combo scout, right? So
Yeah, that is true. It's whenever you have someone just like kind of like making sure that no one can touch you, you just you basically just kind of can hold W whenever you feel like you have a good time, no stress allowed. But yeah, no, looking at like previous matches, definitely it's a little bit rough. It's nothing's really set in stone because things definitely can change. Cat Posse might have gotten stronger, maybe a little bit more complacent. Just it's like, oh, we're second seed, we're doing really well. We don't necessarily have to practice as hard. While Goblin Zone might have just like, all right, these are the problems that we had. We fixed them a long time ago.
right.
Let's get into this. So
Goblin
definitely,
Zone got 7th seed to snipe Cat Posse. I actually think so. First of all, I don't think there was any sniping slash purposeful type of manipulation. But if anything, I feel like Cat Posse sniped 2nd seed to get revenge on Goblin Zone,
that
because
is like
I
it's
feel
a
like that
negative
was
record.
way more. I feel like that was way more I guess likely of a scenario, right? Because again, if they going into week 8, that final match of the season, if Cat Posse beat Honey Bacon, they would have been guaranteed 1st seed. But if they lost to Honey Bacon, they would have been guaranteed 2nd seed. So them ending up in 2nd, sets up this revenge possibility for that team. Because again, obviously, Goblin Zone beat them on Sunshine Week. But without much else to really kind of pontificate on this matchup, with only knowing one map and these two bans so far, fleskore, give me your prediction. Who's gonna advance to round 2?
I feel like the obvious pick would definitely just be Cat Posse, just because they're the second seed, based off of seeding alone, and based off of like how the performance over the season. Like anyone upsets will happen, in like within the regular seasons. But if you're able to keep that up and have like what 14-2 in a regular season, that's pretty impressive. You drop to you dropped 2 games. You lost to the current number 1 seed, and you lost to a playoffs team.
Hmm.
That's a good record, especially going into playoffs. So, Cat Posse definitely is gonna be the favorite going in. Although my heart does say Goblin Zone because I would like to see Goblin Zone just being the dark horse of, I would say, like, the big dark horse in all of, playoffs and just upsetting the 2nd seed and just solidifying that, like, that 2-0 record
Hmm.
over Cat Posse. That definitely just kinda destroy all expectations in playoffs, moving forward from there.
Yeah. So I mean, again, the obvious pick is to roll with Cat Posse. But if you like the element of chaos, Goblin Zone is your team to go with. Like I said, this team, and I've said this about them, since like week 3 of the regular season. They are the most intriguing team in the entire div because of all the stuff that they do. And it would not surprise me, like I said in the playoffs preview, it wouldn't surprise me to see this team lose like the first 2 maps and just be gone, and it wouldn't surprise me to see them make it all the way to Grands. So you never know which type of goblin you're going to encounter on any given day. So with this lineup, or this matchup, excuse me, slated for next Tuesday, it'll be exciting to see. I know Blanc TV will plan to cast this game. That's the plan at the very least. So because
Well,
again, I
some
feel like of all the round one games, this one has a lot of story behind it, a lot of meme potential also. What's the best chaos map left for Goblin Zone? Gully? Yeah, I mean, they could pick Gully. I don't see them picking any of the more normal map. Like, I don't see them picking, like, Process or Snakewater. I don't see them picking Sunshine. They're probably not going to pick Villa, because, like, unless they're one of the rare teams that, feel comfortable on it, slash want that, again, that little extra cheese factor, perhaps. But not to dwell on this matchup for too long, because again, we don't have complete information. It is what it is. Let's head back. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, we are looking at main. No, no, we are looking at advanced. So here we go. The other game without incomplete maps is Dior Addicts versus Portland Burnsiders. So
there's
no
nothing in match
information
comes
that we know about this, but we do know previous information. We know that DR Addicts met Portland Burnsiders, and they 5
on
0'd them.
Gully Wash. Who's
So
Gully Wash 5-0? It's just ridiculous.
yeah, so uh, I feel like Portland Burnsiders, there is a little bit of more rocky waters for them to traverse right now. There has been lots of rumblings about other players maybe coming in, coming out. So I would say their situation is a little bit unstable. And then meanwhile, DR Addicts have been kind of rolling with their 6 for at least the last couple of weeks here. So um, I don't know. It just, to me, again, without knowing the maps, without really knowing the full situation, this seems like it will just be kind of a clean dub here for the Dior Addicts. The totally controversy-free Dior Addicts, right, fleskore?
What controversy? What are you
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
about?
These guys are squeaky clean
I
image.
don't. I genuinely don't know what this team is because they just never had a single problem.
Of course.
I've never had a problem with them as an RGL moderator for this division. So,
Yep.
boom.
So
Uh,
predictions? I mean, I'm gonna go with Dior Addicts 2-1. Again, we don't know the maps, so whatever. But that will just be my prediction here.
it's a big shame for Portland. They definitely had like a really rough season considering like the sudden invite qualifiers, and they failed to make that. And
Yeah.
then like obviously like you know going in from like, hey, we're playing invite, to all right, cool, we're playing advanced, and then not necessarily being you're the 6th seed in playoffs. That's kind of a little bit rough. You wanted to play you wanted to play invite and you couldn't. So, but
Yeah. I mean,
Dior is
you have to
definitely
keep
like
in
the
mind that they've had a turbulent season with regards to their roster anyway, right? Because like after they played invite qualifiers and unfortunately didn't make it, they had to swap out a couple of players then, and then like midway through the season they made a couple of other swaps, and then Europe got banned, so they had to bring in somebody else new, and now right before playoffs, potentially somebody else new again. So as a longtime team captain, when you're suffering through so many roster shenanigans throughout the course of a season, at some point it becomes like, hey, let's just take what we can get. And if you read what Kylorfo said in the playoffs preview, they're just hoping to put their best foot forward and see what happens from there. So um, regardless of their, I guess, roster question marks. They've been putting in the work, and we'll see what happens. To get some revenge again on this team in particular against the DR Addicts would certainly might bring a smile to my face. But what do I know? All right, no information there. Let's move on. Um, I want to save the I by Winrar one for last, but I want to talk about Honey Bacon Club versus Gaming. So this is, of course, your number one seed in the division going up against the number 8 seed. So the team that snuck in at the very end versus one of the favorites all season long. You can see the maps right here. We got Process to open things up, followed by Snakewater, and then Metalworks. So you got 2 Pug maps, and then Metalworks, because Metalworks is not a Pug map. Frick my Nick in the chat saying, new roster update for gaming. We are going to be using Banny for playoffs, and well, congratulations, Gaming, on your Season 5 advanced win for ringing Grant Banny Vincent for
I,
the division.
as an RGO moderator, I approve of this message.
And if Jamon was here, I can hear him just going, yes, sir! And then, there we go. Banny roster transaction approved. But all jokes aside, of course, Gaming, they've also had a kind of turbulent season. Looking back on it, really, I think I said this at the end of regular season in the the episode number 8 of All Around Advanced. But I think only 3 teams in the entire division, 3 or 4 teams, didn't have to deal with roster shenanigans. Everybody else did. So I guess it's more the norm this season in particular compared to others maybe. But so Gaming, of course, they are going to be without Sleepy. They're dusting off Dog, who is the Highlander player, played in season 1. I think maybe dabbled in season 2 a little bit as well, but regardless, he's going to be playing Demo Man again for the first time in a while. And then Paulie, came into play during Clear Cut Week, coming off the bench as well. And then depending on Frick My Nick's medical situation, it could be him, it could be Zoomsy. So I mean, another team, much like Portland Burnsiders, where their situation, as far as their playoff lineup goes, isn't really set in stone, which raises some concerns. But it is what it is, and they are going up against the number 1 seed in the division in the playoffs. They met during week 2 on Villa Week, and it was a very, very close 4-3 victory for Artist and Friends. But again, the teams that walked into week 2 Villa are not the same teams that are walking into playoffs round 1. So
No, not at all.
looking at this slate of maps and knowing what we know about the rosters, what are your immediate thoughts?
The going off the maps individually and like their previous records, like Process, I definitely just feel that goes to Honey Bacon Club. I mean, they won 5-1 against Lobsters, and then they won 5-2 against Cat Posse. Beating Cat Posse that convincingly on Process is like definitely a statement. So they're incredibly comfortable. The Gully Wash band definitely doesn't surprise me at all. Like I'm not sure what it is about that team. They're like a little bit like maybe not confident or maybe not comfortable with Gully Wash. I mean, they did go 2-0 on Gully, but like
Oh,
they
that was
had
the
a
that was the watch this match, right?
the 5-4, an incredibly
Yeah,
close
yeah.
match against Watch This, who I think I think 10th right now.
Mm, No, I think their record kind of tumbled a little bit in the last end of the season. But regardless, I mean, they had a very, very tense game, very, very close game. That was the game where Watch This was up 4-1 at one point, and then they were up 4-3 with like 2.5 minutes left to play, and then Honey Bacon just found that surge of adrenaline, that rush of energy that let them take 2 rounds in 2 minutes to kind of sneak the win away. So I guess, yeah, that band definitely makes sense. Again, I don't know. I just feel like I'm looking at those first 2 maps, right? And it's like Process, Snakewater, and then it's like, okay, so you're gonna have to deal with, Artist on these kind of wide open mids where it just seems like he can hit you with sticky snipes no matter no matter where you're trying to hide. And then I guess the other change for Honey Bacon is that they don't have Morska or Bumbo anymore. They have Kutch Kutch shifting over to Soldier, and then they brought up Tony as well. So a little bit of change there so both sides having last minute changes, last minute roster additions, or fixes, and I guess we'll really see what will go down there. But I mean, predictions for this best of 3 fleskore?
Process definitely is going to go to Honey Bacon Club, like convincingly, I would say. Snakewater might be a little bit more highly contested. I do know that gaming does have a little bit of like a better, like a really close record, at least from some higher seeded playoff teams. So there's definitely like a little bit of like upset potential there. And if it does go to Metalworks, I feel like at the very end, Honey Bacon Club is going to edge it out. Just based off the records alone.
Hmm. See, my thought process on this match is, I think it's very clear that Honey Bacon is the favorite, right? But I will say is, if gaming can win and kind of steal their Honey Bacon's map pick, which is of course process, I could see it going to 3 maps, and then I could see gaming winning it. However, if Honey Bacon kind of do like a 5-1 or a 5-0 map on process, I think it's just over. I think it's just a wrap from there. I think that that team in particular, having played against them over the last 2 seasons, just like so momentum driven, so momentum heavy in their aggression, is that like if they put a 5-0 smackdown on you map 1, they're just going to literally keep holding the knife to your throat, keeping their foot on the gas pedal across the entirety of Snakewater, map number 2, and then it'll just kind of be over. So, my prediction is for Honey Baking to win. However, again, if gaming sneak process away, I could see it getting very, very interesting. And again, it's a shame that a lot of these best of threes are currently planned for the same day, because again, we don't really have, we're not that kind of game, that kind of e-sport to have the manpower to cover all of these potential great matches. So
I do know Fireside is coming back for playoffs.
let's go.
Antlers does plan on finally returning to cover playoffs for advanced, so it's going to be exciting. We also do have TFTV as well, possibly getting some matches. As long, assuming that assuming
Yeah.
that they're not going to be like getting any other invite or possibly lower division matches. So definitely should be seeing more coverage for advanced games.
Yeah.
Will be exciting. Hopefully, I'll be able to cast.
I think between TFTV, Fireside, and Blanc TV, we'll have decent coverage. But of course, yeah, it just really depends on availability, depends on the schedules, and all that jazz. I know TFTV plans on casting Maine next week when Sea Shanty 2 plays Butta Dogs, or however you're supposed to say that. So that is Jamon's team versus the other squad. So that'll be really good. Maine is going to be a bloodbath as well. But yeah, that's pretty much for Honey Bacon versus Gaming. Again, tough situation for the number 8 seed heading in. Not only do you have to play the best quote best team in the division, you also have to deal with a roster juggling act right before. So best of luck to them. But again, I think Honey Bacon takes this in 2. All right, let's get to this game right here. This is I by Winrar versus Team Solo. Now, before we actually dive in, I'm gonna address this artist saying that this is probably the match of round 1. Fleskore also saying that. I am also in agreement. However, I don't know if I was about to say I don't know if any of I by Winrar's team members are in the chat, but I honestly just don't care. Last time I tried to cast them, I got hella denied, and I don't see it changing this time around either. Turns out there's a problem with like their server and STV, and again, the personalities on that team. I just don't think they'll budge, even if I said like, "Hey, I'm trying to cast this game," because I think it would be really, really good. I do think this is gonna be the best team, the best of 3 for round 1. However, with knowing what I know, I figure I'm going to take the easier road, the less troublesome road, and grab Cat Posse versus Goblin Zone. But anyway,
If TFTV or Fireside does want to cast, they definitely do have to give a functioning STV.
that is true.
RGL rules.
That is true. And it's happening. What is it? Wednesday. The 31st is a Wednesday, so maybe we'll see what TFTV can do. Again, TFTV and Fireside have the power. Unfortunately, Blanc TV does not. So if the former 2 organizations,
not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Season 6. But
I'm trying.
If the former 2 orgs, have their hands tied elsewhere, then I can only do so much. But regardless, anyway, enough of that. Enough of the logistics. I buy Winrar versus Team Solo. This is the number 4 versus the number 5. So not only is it the closest match just for sure on paper, but by seeding it's also the closest because I buy Winrar going 11-5, Team Solo I'm going 10-6. These maps are just your classic pug trifecta. Process first, then Gully Wash, then Snake Water. Now, of course, we know that both these teams met up on Gully Wash week, and it was a 5 to
5-4.
4 golden cap type of game. It was crazy. I remember it was like a 4 to 3 lead for Team Solo and then Fig dropped an 8K or like a 7K. It was something really ridiculous, really insane, and basically saving the team. Oh, we got Jamond in here. Let's go.
He's in the chat.
Also, artist saying that if if gaming defeats his team 5-0, he will record himself crying and send it to Nick. So not Twitch points, not money, not TF2 medal or keys, but a video of artist crying. Now that would be a sight to see. Again, I don't think that's gonna happen, but we'll find out on Tuesday. Anyway, I buy WinRAR. I mean, looking good after a couple of changes, couple of roster additions, switching Air and MC around, and then Team Solo, as I called them, the carousel, the juggling act, the circus carousel of players that can just go to whatever class they so desire, except for the restrictions, and it's pretty much worked out every single time. They've played, like with 8 different lineups throughout the season, so maybe they've got something else cooking up in the kitchen to debut here. But what are the premier matchups between these two teams that you're looking at going into this best of 3?
The process pick is definitely, I guess I want to say is like a little bit of a power play from iBuyWinRAR because Team Solo did actually have a really huge upset loss, I would say, to St. Jude.
Yeah, that was as someone that watched that match VOD, it was an interesting time.
It was definitely. I'm not necessarily sure because I definitely props to St. Jude. I don't mean to mean they'll win in any way,
Hmm.
but at the same time, it's just it's definitely an interesting way to take a defeat. Although they did clean up afterwards, beating box tap. So
Yeah. So,
and
go ahead.
again, Gully Wash. I feel like is like process. It can go either way, but Gully Wash is definitely going to be the map to watch. It's pretty. It's going to be a pretty hotly contested match, considering we already saw them like early in the season 5-4 golden cap. Like that's what you want to see. That's like good TF2 right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like basically a playoff preview as far as that match is concerned. I'm gonna address Nick's little comment later because again we're talking about these two teams right now. So, process being the first map. I'm assuming this was iBuyWinRAR's pick. Let's take a look. Yes, sir. Because again, you want to be Team A. Shoutouts to any playoff team captains. With the way our current map pool works, you always want to be Team A. We don't have Bagel in our map pool, so it's not perhaps a little more divisive on which team you would rather be. But anyway, Grape Juice's team having banned product, team banning Metalworks, leading into the process pick. Um, I don't know. So again, if we're assuming that the Team Solo lineup as Lights and Tresh Soldier, right? Because they had Scout, they had Carson Scout, they had Hayes on demo, and then Walrex Medic, right? So your soldier, your speedy potential soldiers are Grape Juice on one side, and then Tresh on the other. The other thing also with Tresh is that sniper sightlines on this map are of course very dangerous, and Tresh has been hitting some crazy headshots pretty much all season long. Now Percy is of course another accomplished sniper on the opposite end, so we might see more sniper duels if this match ends up being spectated by viewers and casters alike. But I don't know. It's something to me. Something speaks to me about like the chaos of Team Solo. That I know they lost the Gully Wash matchup, but I feel like they have like an advantage almost heading in. I don't know if you agree with me on that or not, but
It's definitely going to be. I feel like Gully Wash isn't going to be a clean, decisive battle either way. Like I don't believe in I by when we're like taking it again as cleanly. But it's gonna be like interesting. Just like Team Solo Arms just goes in and just like all right, throwing everything at the wall, throwing everything at them, and hoping that I by Winrar can doesn't know how to react with that. because like
Hmm.
again the chaos they're just like death balling or just chaos balling all around. So it's definitely gonna be a really interesting match, but you know, because Gully Watch can't allow that a whole lot. So I can Snake Water if it does go to map 3.
Yeah,
Snake Water would be really interesting on map 3.
out of all the maps, or sorry, out of all the round one games, this one I almost want to put money down on it going to three maps. It just seems like that type of thing, right? Like everything's been kind of building up to this point. The number four versus the number five. Last time they met, it was a 5-4 that could not be decided in regulation. Need a golden cap. I by Winrar playing really really well in the back half of the season, closing the season out 6-0 to kind of cement their spot in playoffs. Team Solo, once again, they have a rotating act of players and roles that they can utilize to their advantage, looking like Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen with a ton of options on the table. So, I wouldn't even be surprised like if Team Soul starts off like poorly, that they might like just immediately change things up either mid match or like heading into Gully Wash as well. So I feel like the door is just busted wide open on this one. I could see it going either way. I can really easily see it going to three maps, going the full distance, the whole 9 yards. And if you had a gun to my head right now and said, Terry, you must pick a winner or you will die, I would say, can you shoot me after I pick? But then after that, I would say, I'm going to go with the quote upset unquote. I'm going to predict the Team Solo comes out on top of this one. I just think that they have that extra, again, that extra element, that edge, that chaos energy. Basically, like this team in Goblin Zone. I feel like all the other six playoffs teams are very, cookie cutter, standard type of stuff. You see every team, just obviously playing at very high levels because they're all talented players as individuals and as a team. But Team Solo and Goblin Zone, they kind of got that wacky ingredient in their DNA. So I think they will ride that out to a close but victory nonetheless. What about you?
See, if I was in that scenario, I'd probably just tell him to pull the trigger because I genuinely can't decide. I by Winrar definitely like the high like quote unquote higher seed, even though it's just like by one,
Hmm.
and like Team Solo would like it would be an upset by seeding only, even though I would say like these two teams are like fairly even. So it's like gonna be just about endurance. It's mental fortitude and everything, and just seeing like who like it depends on like how they want to play. Do they want to play like standard TF2 and just like outstrat them, out DM them, or do they just want to like full on commit chaos ball and just see who can say what the fuck like more?
Yeah, and something interesting, or at least worth noting. We talked about the Team Solo shenanigans versus St. Jude's team on Process Week, but it turns out that if Team Solo if they had not, for the lack of a better word, they threw, right? They fucking just goofed off. They played off classes. They ran some jank and they lost, right? Whatever, it happened.
Yeah.
But even if they didn't do that and they won, they would have ended up fourth seed, and guess what? I by Winrar would have ended fifth seed. So we would have been basically right back in this situation. Granted, the pick band would have been a little different, but they were guaranteed to meet up with each other, I guess, regardless of that process week silly outcome. So, and again, maybe Team Solo, they got that revenge on their mind, and they're looking to not only get the run back, but then also eliminate this team in the process. So, what's we got? All right. Oh, Wing Bacon here saying he's gonna vote. He's gonna put his eggs in I buy Winrar's basket. Tristan's gonna go for Team Solo. So again, a very divisive crowd. I say crowd of two people that have said their picks, but I mean, again, I feel like a lot of people could look at this matchup that have followed Advance this season and pretty much say the same. It's a coin toss. You never know who's gonna show up, who's gonna be warmed up on the DM better, who's gonna hit that crazy shot more, who's gonna not tilt, right? So again, anybody can take it, and I'm almost positive, I'm almost certain that this will go all the way to Snakewater. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna give it to Team Solo up. Fleskore says he can't decide, but we will find out. So, looking back again at the whole bigger picture, my predictions were Honey Bacon beats Gaming, Team Solo beats I by Winrar, Cat Posse beats the Goblin Zone, and then DR Addicts beats the Burnsiders, which means in my prediction, my timeline, round 2 or semifinals, we'll have Honey Bacon versus Team Solo and then Cat Posse versus DR Addicts. Fleskore, I mean, you didn't really cement some of your picks, but
Oh yeah.
if you have to pick a final four from this after giving it some more thought, who do you got?
Honey Bacon Club definitely would move on to the semifinals, either really cleanly or maybe like a little bit rough, but a W is a W at the end of the day. Um, I would say I'm gonna agree with you in Team Solo Umps taking it. Although I feel like everyone would be heartbroken if that match just didn't like end map 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like it'd be illegal. I would I would
Ban them.
ban someone.
Ban them if
I
they
would
do it.
ban someone.
Make them replay it again on another day. Let's go.
I will ban someone if that doesn't go to map 3. Cat Posse. Although this is going to be a really interesting match. If Cat Posse is like the brain obviously goes to Cat Posse. The heart goes to Goblin Zone, of course.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that same boat.
But Cat Posse would move on to semifinals and Dior as well, and so that'd be like my final four, more or less yours, exact same as yours. In the semifinals, I kind of want to say Dior actually might upset Cat.
Yeah, I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it next week. The plan, by the way, for those in my chat, the plan is that for next week, once we have our final four, I'm gonna invite one representative from each of the teams to be on the show, where we can get a little smack talk, maybe a little more drama, spice things up a little bit, heading into basically semifinals to decide who's gonna go play for first and who's gonna play the third, fourth decider. So we shall see. What is Cadet asking? If any teams are getting banned, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Nice try, but I mean, whatever. I'm evil. Oh, listen, it's for the content. It's for the people. The people want to hear some smack talk. The people want to hear what these teams have to say about each other, both the good and the bad. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all for the opening week of advanced playoffs. Again, it was one hell of a season, and I cannot stress this enough. I think it's absolutely fucking bonkers that like 7 weeks into the season, we had 13 or 14 teams in the playoff race. Okay, I've been playing this game for a long ass time, and that has not happened in like the advanced slash intermediate. If we're talking ESCA, that has not happened for that level in a long time, maybe even if ever, dude. Like week 7, and like the only one team was mathematically eliminated from playoffs. That's fucking crazy. So again, a huge shout outs to everybody that participated in this season of Advanced. It was a hell of a ride, and we're not quite done yet. Because if the regular season was anything to go off of, these playoffs are about to be spicy. Oh my god, it's gonna be good. So the only thing I'm gonna say here, I really just like, I don't know. I'm part of like the stat nerd type of like legend slash myth type of finder. I just think it'd be crazy if Dior Addicts wins it all, just because Collapse will have then taken season 3 main, season 4 Div 2, and then season 5 advance. That would be 3 consecutive championships in 3 separate divisions. I am 99.5% sure that has never happened in NA TF2 history. And then probably just overall TF2 history.
Benny's quaking right now. All
Yeah.
right, so look, here's the thing: who would win though? It'd be we have Sweaty Spaghetti, and then we have Claps, and we have Benny.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lineup of titans, and we'll figure out who's gonna come out on top. But again, round 1 of season 5 advanced playoffs is coming up very very soon. The first slate of matches are currently scheduled for Tuesday. So again, right here to kind of put a final touch on things. As of right now, again, TF2 players are anything but decisive, so who knows if this will change in the next 48 hours. But as it stands right now, Cat Posse versus Goblin Zone, DR Addicts versus Portland Burnsiders, both of those are going to be happening on Tuesday. Again, Blanc TV will attempt slash plan to cover Cat Posse versus Goblin Zone. And Fireside is to be determined. And then Wednesday, the match of the week slash match of round 1, I by Winnar versus Team Solo. Any coverage for this will be pending. make sure to stay tuned on TFTV. And then on Thursday, Honey Bacon Club versus Gaming. So, um, if other orgs aren't going to be covering that, I might probably cover that as well on Block TV. So we'll see what happens here. Um, you guys are forgetting the wild card that Gaming is ringing Fenomeno, aka Toaster Bro, for playoffs. Now, ringing a banned player, what happens then? Does the whole team just immediately get banned on principle, or would RGL just delete their team page? What do you think would happen, fleskore? As a div moderator.
First off, I would burn the computer to make sure that they don't even reach the server,
Okay.
and then afterwards, I will be okay. And to because you guys are testing my sanity, I will save yours and then ban them from TF2
Well,
permanently.
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So that pretty much wraps things up here. We've had a lively chat, of course, a wonderful time speaking to you all, exploring what could possibly be in our futures for the playoffs. And you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a quick shout out to the main playoffs because again, it's fucking spicy over there as well. Kind of a redux of last season where all the teams that were in playoffs were barely records apart, and it should be another type of bloodbath where there might be quote unquote upsets, but really any one team can take any other. So we'll see what happens in Maine, but Advanced should be good. Hoping it will be good. Don't disappoint me, guys. You guys still have jobs to do. Everybody else's season in Advanced is over, but for these 8 teams, they live on for at least one more week. Hopefully, we will see a show. And again, speaking of shows, this show will be back next week as well, same time. Again, the plan will be to have contestants or representatives from the Final Four in Mumble with me. We'll see how it goes. That might be a little crazy. That might be a little chaotic, but that's what we live for. That's TF2 in a nutshell. I mean, it's never a dull time in this community, for better or for worse. But for fleskore and myself, this will wrap up episode 9, aka Playoffs Round 1 preview of All Around Advanced. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for the follows. And until next time, we will see you guys later.